this ELA packet, because that's kind of what we're here for. So here's the ELA packet that Ms. Carloni made for you guys. Her recommendation on this, if you'll look, is for you to do, this is kind of what she's thinking, read/watch the lesson. That's if you're doing it in Study Island. So options for completing the packet: online at Study Island, 12 questions, 10 to 15 questions per day per standard. You should complete all 4 packets by Friday, March 27th. One standard every 2 days. You should complete 1 packet every 2 to 3 days. So my advice for this is, here's your standards. So let's look at ELA. So what she's saying is, in each standard, 10 to 15 questions. So text structure, 10 to 15 questions. Illustrations and informational text, 10 to 15 questions. Reasons and evidence, 10 to 15 questions. Compare and contrast informational text. I think that you should start out with what is most comfortable for you. Off the top of my head, knowing you guys, I would say maybe 5 to 10 questions for the very first day you're even beginning to do anything with this packet. So you could start there and kind of work from there. And then, so let's start there. So if we were to take a look at this packet, it talks about text organization, right? So here's, it talks about the way the text is organized. We've talked about that before. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about the stuff that we talk about, which is this: reading, how we're going to be successful when reading, what we do for reading. You guys have seen this. Whisper read the question and text until you what? Understand them, right? So take your time, make sure that you're understanding what you're reading. Secondly, think about the question. Find the evidence in the text that answers the question. Cross off wrong answers. Choose the answer that makes the most sense. And then at the end, so if you're going to do 5 or 10 of these, after you're done with the 10, go back and read just the questions and the answers to see if your answer makes sense. All right, so let's get back to ELA. And we'll reference this at times. In fact, maybe we might do something where, like, I'll put these up together because I can project my entire desktop. So maybe we'll do that. All right, so let's get to what we're talking about here. So this is the first couple pages of the ELA packet that Ms. Carloni printed out. If you guys need this, I can email it to you, or you can get it to school. I'm not sure if they're still giving them out to school now. It is Wednesday, the 18th at 10:33. So I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but it's available through me. And my advice would be, if you cannot get to the school, I would do something like this, right? So as we're going down here, this is the beginning of text structure. All right, here's the first question right here, this one. One thing that you could do if you do not have the packet printed out, one piece of advice that I could give you is, or I'm going to give you, is you could do this on a regular piece of paper. So let me switch over. Hey, let me switch over to, I have a webcam on my on my Mac, and then I have a separate webcam just for, who knows why, but I have it. So, so I can use that. So here is my other camera, and here's a piece of paper. All right, so if we're looking at the thing that I was showing you, what you could do is you could put your name on a piece of paper. And then put Study Island text structure so that you know what you're doing. And then just label number 1. And then when you go to Study Island, hold on, let me see if I can do this all together. All right, back to me. So doing this all together would look like, just so we can get everything in one spot. Oh, I don't know if I can do my desktop after I've done my camera. All right, well, let's just go back to what we're doing. Here's the what Ms. Carloni has put out as the packet. So what you would do is you would just read this and then decide based on, what what we've seen here, what your answer would be. So let's do number 1 together. All right, I'll read it and then we'll go through the questions and then we will decide which one is correct. So this would be an I do. All right, so getting ready to camp is almost as much work as setting up camp. First, my dad takes the camping gear from the attic. Then everyone has a piece of equipment to check. My job is to check the tent. I make sure it has no holes or tears. After I check for holes, I spray the whole tent with water off. This helps the tent stay dry if it rains. After all the gear is checked, we help Dad load the car. Finally, when the car is loaded, we set off for a weekend of mountain adventures. The paragraph above is organized in A, cause and effect, B, chronological order, C, comparison and contrast, D, narration. All right, if we go back up here and we look at the things that it is saying, okay. So sequence or chronological order, compare and contrast, cause and effect. All right, so let's take a look at some of the ones that are options for us. So the options that we have are cause and effect, chronological order, comparison, contrast, narration. I don't think narration is one of the examples they give us, but we know what narration is, okay? So let's talk about sequence or chronological order. Items are organized in the order they happen. Use words like first, next, and finally to tell the reader the correct order. Example, before we moved to our new house, Mom packed our things in boxes. First, she went to the grocery stores and asked the workers there for some empty boxes. Then she bought tape and markers so we could seal the boxes tight and label them. Finally, we all worked together and helped Mom pack our things in the boxes. All right, so is it done in an order? Yeah. Okay, so let's keep that as maybe an option. So that's B. All right, A is cause and effect. Items are organized by writing about something that happens and then what happens because of it. I did not sleep last night. As a result, my head hurts today. If I'm looking for evidence of this, I don't see a lot of that. I don't see this and that. This happened and that happened. There is some, I did this for this reason, but not did this, then that happened. Comparison and contrast. Let's look at that. Items are organized by showing how they are alike and different. You may want to first write about all the ways they are similar and then write about the ways they are different. I don't see a lot of that evidence of that either. So, meaning I don't see, there's not two events that are being compared. So that leaves us with narration. Could be. For me, I think that when I saw that they said the words that are used in chronological order, first, then, next, finally, that's for me what sealed the deal that it was chronological order. So if I were choosing an option, I would choose chronological order. So now on your paper, what I would write is I would do number 1, B, chronological order. So now you know what you're doing, you know what number it was, everything sort of matches up. All right, so that's kind of an example. That's an I do. All right, obviously we can't do we do's, maybe at some point. And so let's move on to you do's. Here, as you're looking, elephants, you'll read this. What is the first contrast the author makes between African and Asian elephants? So you would just read this and you would find, okay, when he's comparing these two things, what is the first thing that he compares? All right, so obviously I always want you to read the entire thing, so let's do that. Elephants are the largest animals that live on the surface of the earth. They are found on the continents of Asia and Africa. While Asian and African elephants are distantly related, they show different bodily characteristics. African elephants are larger and heavier compared to Asian elephants. An average adult African elephant weighs around 8,800 to 16,500 pounds and is about 12 feet tall. Asian elephants are smaller in size and weigh between 7,000 and 13,000 pounds. They also have smoother skin. The ears of Asian elephants are much smaller compared to African elephants. African elephants' ears reach down to their neck. The size of the tusks also differ between the two elephants. All African elephants, including females, have large tusks. Around half of female Asian elephants do not have tusks at all. Instead, they have small teeth-like structures known as tushes. Despite the bodily differences, both African and Asian elephants have similar behavioral patterns. They both live in herds, and the oldest female elephant leads the herd. The diets of these elephants are similar as well. Both eat grass and lots of leaves. All right, so the question, what is the first contrast the author makes between African and Asian elephants? Their size, their food, their tusks, their skin. So when we're reading, it says, while African and Asian elephants are distantly related, they show different bodily characteristics. African elephants are larger and heavier. So to me, that says their size. So I would look for their food. Their food looks like both eat grass and lots of leaves, so that's at the bottom. Their tusks, the size of their tusks also differ. That's towards a little bit more towards the bottom as well. Their skin, they also have smoother skin. So of these, all that I found in my text evidence, the one that I seem to find first was their size. So I would choose A. So if we're looking here, did I show you guys all that? Or were we not sharing? Maybe we weren't sharing. There you go. If I didn't show you that, I'm sorry. Here's just a quick synopsis of it. I read it. Here's my question. What is the first contrast the author makes between African and Asian elephants? There's my question. A, their size. B, their food. C, their tusks. D, their skin. What I did was I went through my reading and I looked for each thing, right? So the first thing I found was their size. African elephants are larger and heavier compared to Asian elephants. The next thing I saw was their food. Both eat grass and lots of leaves. Then I found C, their tusks. The size of the tusks also differs between the two elephants, and then their skin. They also have smoother skin. So on this, the first thing that I saw was their size, which was way up here. So switching back over to our camera, I would choose A. So number 2 would be A, their size. So this way you can use a electronic version if this is emailed to you, and still kind of do your work and feel like you're doing something and accomplishing something without having the packet right in front of you. All right, so let's move on. Let's get back to our plan for the day. Our plan for the day now has reached we have done the Pledge of Allegiance, Kids of Hope, Treasure Hunters Pledge, what's going on. We've done some of the ELA packet. The math packet is next. All right, so I'm gonna bring up the math packet. Let me just be kind of clear about one thing. If you need more of the ELA packet, or if you're gonna need more of the math packet, again, Ms. Carlone is asking you to go through sections of this and do work from each section. The reason why I'm telling you that is because if there's stuff that you don't understand, have your parents reach out to me, send me a question in a video, or just send me a question in a text, and I'll get those questions answered. If there's things that, like, okay, I just went over the first section, but now you're doing the other ones. Let's try and communicate as much as we can during this time, and I can get some of the questions answered.